I'm Lisa, and I'm the mom half of this duo.
And I'm Shada. I'm Lisa's daughter. And welcome to Two Peas in a Plot, our little corner of the internet where we talk all things books.
We read across genres and love everything from underrated gems to longtime favorites.
And just a quick heads up while we try to avoid spoilers, we do talk about what we liked or didn't. So there might be a few light spoilers along the way just to give you some context.
So if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot. Hello, everyone. I've got to take care of some business that my brother told me I needed to straighten out.
Oh, yeah.
He is not my target audience, but he likes to listen to it, and I think I have my nephew listening to it, and possibly his girlfriend. So I thank you for any sort of audience I can get. But he wanted me to explain some, you call it acronyms, Shada? Is
Yes.
it
Yeah.
acronyms? So if think of anything I've forgotten, I've only think of two. And one is YA, but I think you got that. That's young adult. And TBR is to be read. I also used to call it a wish list. I still kind of do. Old
It's hard to
habits.
call it a wish list when you're
Mhm.
like me and you hoard books that you haven't read because I wished for them earlier, but now I have them. So now I just need to read them. So I think that's where the term to be read
To
came
be
from.
read. Well, I've become that way a little bit. I still find myself not reading them when I bought them, unfortunately. So I'm trying to step back again, but I have done that because you gave me a little bookshelf kind of. So I
Yeah,
have
it's
some
like
books
a
on
it's I
it.
got it I got it to display plants, like house plants, and then it just kind of morphed like I went through a house plant phase, which you know,
Hmm.
and I had so many at one point, and then they just like it got so overwhelming. So there was a process of attrition. Like if you can't hang with some mild neglect, you're out.
Yeah.
So so then at a certain point I realized, well, I don't really have a use for this. I had some books on it, but I have enough shelving that yeah, so it it's a weird shape.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it would be a good place because I know you've said before, and listeners have probably heard you say you moved, and it's interesting. You moved to a bigger house, but just the way it's like the layout of the
Hmm.
house, it it's not conducive to like a dedicated like library area.
Right.
So
It
I know
doesn't
you
have
had
a
to
lot
get
of
rid of a lot of stuff.
storage. It's more living space, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Not so much bedrooms, so extra rooms to hide things in. Or so anyway, this is the last room that's probably going to be worked on. Is the one we call it our study right now, and it's real small, but it's lovely. Don't get me wrong. I complain about the storage space, but I don't need a lot of storage. Well, I kind of do, but I just need to work it out. I need to organize it a little better, and I'm a little slow to pick things out. I have to hem and haw for years probably before I decide on anything.
Well, let me ask you this. I was listening to one of our older episodes and I realized that you had asked me to kind of change things up or just like get a pulse on what we're reading. I wanted to ask you, what are you reading right now?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm reading Too Old for This, and it is, I don't even know what genre. I guess it's a mystery thriller. I think it's supposed to be a thriller, maybe. But this older woman is a retired serial killer. It's supposed to be a dark comedy, but I know it's dark, but it makes me laugh. And she kills someone, and she's tired. And
Oh, yeah.
her back hurts. She had to pick up something she dropped, and oh my gosh, that pulled something in her back.
I
Eh,
love that. Well, and you know me too. I love a story with an older female protagonist. And
mhm.
then add a wrinkle where is she really a protagonist if she's a serial killer? But I want to encourage you, let's not give too much away because
Oh,
you're gonna
true.
talk about it eventually in a
Exactly.
future episode.
I am like right in the thick of things, so I stopped reading it this morning. I'm feeling under the weather just because of my allergies, so if you hear a little if I'm congested or just deep voice talking, it's that time of the
Congestion.
year. Yeah,
Yeah.
congestion.
Although
But
where we live, it's that time of the year all year. It's
it's
like
pollens.
yeah, every season brings a new wondrous little pollen to
It's just
attack us.
I can't wait for the freeze, so it'll kill this ragweed that we have. And nothing ever makes the mold go away. Maybe the freeze does, the coldness, but there's always mold around here. Today's book I've had for a while, and I finally just said, I got to read this. Ah, so glad I did it. I always say that, but it's a cozy, and I don't normally read a lot of paranormal, I guess. This has ghosts, but the title got me as usual, The Deadly Detective Agency by Anne Parker. And this was published in December of 2023. It looks like right now she has 7 books, and it looks like some new ones are coming out, but I'm going to read what Amazon has for the description. Death is only the beginning for Abigail Summers. In the small village of Becklesfield, dressmaker Abigail Summers faces the most unusual challenge of her life, solving her own murder. After meeting a group of fellow spirits at the local library, Abigail, with the aid of a psychic medium, Haley Moon, and her husband, a police constable, sets out to find her killer. Abigail's investigation leads her to the Mayday Fair stalls and maypole dance at I think it's called Chiltern Hall. The case takes an unexpected turn when a local boy disappears, and a suicide seems to hold the key to the mystery. The first book in the Abigail Summers cozy mystery series, The Deadly Detective Agency, weaves together suspense, humor, and a touch of paranormal. But this book right away had so many characters because there's so many ghosts, and they're helping each other, so they form this deadly detective agency and help these ghosts either cross over, figure out who killed them or why they're there. And there's a little bit of a twist. I don't know if you call it a big twist, but I don't think I want to give it away. But not all the ghosts are good. Let's put it that way.
Ooh, that sounds
It's
interesting.
really cute. It's a really cute, cozy mystery. I really enjoyed it. Um, a different take on a cozy, I think. And I can't wait to read the rest of these. Sounds so cute. I think there's one coming out for Christmas, if I'm not mistaken, but super cute. I'm glad I finally read it. I think I purchased it quite a few months ago. But I know, Shada, you don't normally read cozies, but when you hear the title, The Deadly Detective Agency, what would you expect it to be? Serious, playful, or something in between?
That's a good question. I would think it would be playful, like there's some sort of twist in that. And as you're describing it to me, it sounds what the publishing industry calls very high concept. Like you have like a detective solves her own murder from the spirit world. Like after a detective that's been killed has to solve her own murder as a ghost with the help of a living medium. And to me, high concept is anything that you can kind of put into one sentence, like one clean sentence and say, like deliver, I guess, is very high concept. So I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but yeah, it sounds very, very playful, very tongue in cheek. And also like it may be a cozy. I would assume it was a cozy, but also there's going to be some level of death in there too. So there's going to be some kind of dark theme. But I know we've talked about this before. Cozy mysteries are always very cozy and they feel very comforting, but I feel like there's still a level of darkness because there's usually a murder or murders or something happening. So,
Yeah, I don't think they focus on the murders quite at all because they're I mean, if they're like solving murders like so super fast. I almost feel like I need to read it again to get the feel of it a little bit better. But it was so good and page turning. Um, just never heard of this series, and I'm so glad I picked it up. And it looks like a lot of them were released in 2024. And I didn't look, I only looked at the first couple, but every couple of months. It just sounds really cute. Haley Moon, who is the medium, she knew Abigail before she died. So that's Abigail reaches out to Haley to help her solve something. And then, of course, the husband is a good, he's not a detective yet. He's on the police force, but he helps his wife, Haley. And so he looks really good to the police department. And so they really want him involved in a lot of things. And oh, it's just really cute. I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to give any more away than I have to. But love the series. Just really a different take on a cozy. Just and the ghosts don't always get along. They're like a dysfunctional family, and they died at different times. One has
Oh,
been
so you've
dead a
got some
long
like
time.
ancient ghosts and some,
Well, you've got a kid too, but she's not a kid anymore because she kind of grew up as a ghost.
right.
So she says you have to treat me as an adult, and
It
but
actually
then
sounds kind of like oh, Interview with the Vampire, the Anne Rice novel. But
yes,
I saw the 90s movie way not in the 90s, but a long time ago. But Kirsten Dunst is like a little kid, but she plays an old vampire. So she's not quite a kid.
yeah,
I see that a lot in vampire things, and like my some of my favorite vampire things are the spoofs, like What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. It's a Taika Waititi movie, and he's amazing. I love pretty much all of his movies, and he's also an actor, so he plays one of the characters in it. But then he also produced a TV series that I think was 4 or 5 seasons, and that was super funny. And I thought it was the same concept as the movie, but with different actors. And I'm like, I don't know. I love the dynamic of the all the characters in the movie, but I loved the show. It was like a different group of vampires living in like in New York, like in the suburbs near New York City, I think. No,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they were in a suburb, but they were in New York, and it was really funny. But yeah, like one of them, Mom, I think you'll find this really funny. One of them was an ancient vampire. He wasn't, I don't think he was the oldest. I think he was the second oldest. But he was from ancient Persia, and he would talk about how he was a great warrior, and he had 300 wives, and he's really just a big softy. Like he tries to play a tough guy, but there's one really funny episode where he wants to get his American citizenship. And he's like, "Oh, I'm from Iran." And they're like, "Don't say that. Don't say that." And he's like, I love basketball." It's really funny. And the guy who plays this character, he's there. I think most of them are British actors, but they're doing different accents. And he's British, but his family's from Iran, so he's Iranian. I don't know, it's just funny.
I don't
That's
think I've seen that.
And if listeners are confused, I'm half Iranian, so I feel like I can laugh. I can
Yes,
laugh at the Don't say you're from Iran. Oh my God.
that's so
I just
funny. It's
Anyway,
just
I love the dynamics of like how they talk about depending on where what when they were human, how they talk about their just their
their
lived
life.
experience, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that being really funny too in your book. Again, I'm getting way far away from the actual topic of the novel, but I love that kind of because it adds so much texture. Like you can kind of do some time traveling
Yeah.
without having to time travel because you have all these different characters from all these different times and backgrounds, which I think
Hmm.
is very cool. It looks like this is an indie series. I mean, it has a publisher, but it may just be she may have just set up a publishing like vehicle or LLC, or I think too, if you're indie published, you can just put anything in the publisher name. It says Next Chapter. That's the publisher, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
has, I think it's an indie novel. So that's really cool. I like supporting indie authors as well. I'm look
Yeah, I looked more about her as an author, Anne Parker, and I just thought this little bit was interesting. She lives in England, which we love England, in a haunted cottage with her husband Terry and her black and white cat Jazz. And it states, the books, the Abigail Summers Cozy Mystery Series. And it says, new release, The Deadly Coaching Inn coming soon, The Deadly Christmas Wreath, which I love a Christmas cozy at Christmas time. But I just started the series, so I don't want to read it out of order. That's just me.
Yeah, or you're gonna have to power through real quick.
Yeah, and no,
We don't want to do
no,
that.
I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And there's other things that they talk about, but I wanted to bring up that her Deadly Detective Agency has won 3 Book Authority Awards: Best New Detective Book to Read in 2025, Best-Selling Detective Ebook of All Time, and then it says dash 10th. I don't know what that means.
I
And
think
then
she got 10th place.
Oh,
Like her
10th
book got
place. Well,
in that.
that's wonderful.
I know, that's
Just a
amazing.
place. And then best detective book of all time. And then it says 67th. So you're saying probably 67th out of whatever. But I really enjoy her writing. Love the series. Just as cute as could be. So I know you don't read this type of book, even though you appreciate a lot. If you don't normally read this type of story, what kind of mystery would catch your attention and what would need to be different?
Actually, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, how do I describe the things that I enjoy? Because I have, on the surface level, it's very, very weird because I like a lot of gritty fantasy. I don't like a lot of romance. Um, I
Except Jen's books.
except yes. Well, and like I
I
said
like
too,
her books.
when I'm recommended a romance novel from someone I trust, I usually really enjoy it. And Jen is so just has like this innate talent that I will
Just,
never have. I'm sure I could work at it, but it would never have that kind of magic. And Jen's books are very like there's nothing wrong with spice.
no.
Like if you enjoy spice, that's great. But Jen has no spice. And it's she mainly writes YA. Um, Not that YA doesn't push the spice envelope, I think, especially in like fantasy genres
Mhm.
in YA, but um, I tend to gravitate either towards really epic, gritty fantasy, or if not, it has to be the coziest thing ever, like Anne of Green Gables,
Oh.
or there's a British comedy from the 90s with Judi Dench and Jeffrey Palmer, and it's called As Time Goes By. That is my comfort show. I will watch that over and over and over and over again. And that is actually kind of a romance. It's
Yeah.
these two people who are like, they say late middle-aged, mature. They're probably in their early 60s, but they were young sweethearts during the Korean War, and then they get separated, they lose touch, and then they meet like 40 years later. And it's about how they like it doesn't really have a plot. It has a concept, very high concept, and then it's just like it is a situational comedy, but it's still like it's very smart, dry British humor, which I love. So I feel like cozy mysteries like this, especially I assume it takes place in England,
Hmm.
would actually be right up my alley. It's just, as I'm sure listeners will understand, having the time to read everything I want to
I
read
know.
on top of like adulting, which is just like, why do I have to do this? Um, but I will say, I like a good gory thriller and I like horror too. So sometimes there's one, I think they made a Hulu movie out of this one book. I think it's called No Exit. And I never
Hmm.
saw the Hulu adaptation. It's by Taylor Adams. It was like kind of a locked room mystery. This this college student gets caught in a blizzard and she stops at this gas station and then she noted there or a rest stop. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, it's a rest stop. I'm looking at it right now.
Uh-huh.
She stops at a rest stop and then there are four different people in the rest stop. And then she goes back outside. I think she's trying to find cell service. She goes back outside and she sees a little girl locked in a van in the parking
Mm.
lot that's very clearly been kidnapped. So one of the people in the rest stop has done it. And it's like it's so tense. It's it gets pretty dark toward the end, but I was glued to it when I was reading it. So I don't normally read thrillers and I'm pretty picky, like depending on certain twists.
Hmm.
This this had some twists, but it wasn't like a gotcha. It was
Yeah.
like, oh wow, that was a good twist. So, um, but yeah, I think I got pretty gory towards the end too. So I loved that, but I also am totally fine with again, really cozy. That's my jam.
Hmm. I think too, over the years, my taste has changed because I could handle, I don't know if that I ever read thrillers, but I did. I think I read Anne Rice's book that was real popular years ago about vampires.
I think
But
the one we were just talking about, Interview
yeah,
with a Vampire.
yeah. Um, but it's just changed over the years, and I think it'll change again. So who knows? So I think we kind of touched on this that, do we think that mysteries have to be dark and gritty to feel satisfying, or can they still work when they stay lighthearted and character driven? And I know I'm going to talk about it next week, but the book I'm reading now, I think it's a dark, comedic. I don't know if you call it a thriller, but I think it can be both. I think
Oh yeah.
this paranormal one, this Deadly Detective series, isn't scary to me, but it's so different. And the relationship with the dead or the ghosts, they intertwine. And because Haley is the medium, she can see their orbs, she says. I don't know what that means, but she's talking to him, and her husband can't stand it because she's really just talking to nobody. And she had to stop coming to the library because she was scaring the librarian because she
Oh.
was talking to herself, I guess, and she had to stop doing that.
That's really funny.
But, so I guess it can be a little bit of both,
And I
but
think they both, even if you don't have an overlap, like in, that kind of dark comedy horror, um, even if like, I still think the two different genres, they scratch a different itch. Sometimes you want a cozy mystery, sometimes, well, maybe you don't want a gritty mystery, but sometimes I want a gritty mystery.
mhm, I agree. I agree. And I see this too in other books, cozy mysteries, I guess. Some people might love the mysteries because they're about justice and solving problems. I don't feel that so. Yeah, I guess I do see that in the cozies. It's kind of assumed. But others like them because they're about relationships and community. And which side of that appeals more to you?
I think, oh, that's such a good question. It's really dependent on how I connect with the characters because I know I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but I know there have been, I think usually like TV series, so not like the written word medium, but where I'm like, I don't really care about these characters, but I gotta know what happens now. Like I'm sucked into it. But then there are other like I know I bring this up a lot, but The Last of Us, I love zombies. I love zombies. That's one of my favorite genres, which is really weird to me that I just connect so much with zombies. Just like, oh, I don't- there's something about this kind of like existential, post-apocalyptic, like situational concept that I just love. But the thing that I love most about those, mainly the games, because I my little brother tried to get me to play the games for years, and my partner's brother tried to get him to play the games for years. And then finally, I think at the very beginning of the pandemic, we were like, well, should we play this? The second one's coming out. We might as well see what's going on. Why are people so obsessed with this game? We played it. We were like, wow, this is amazing. But it's not about zombies. And separately, I could go off on a totally different tangent, but the best zombie things like movies, books, games, etc., they're not really about the zombies. They're about the people. And that's what I love the most about The Last of Us is it's the characters, the relationship, it's the way this guy who's really, really broken, like 20 years into the apocalypse after losing his daughter. He doesn't want to connect with anyone. He's kind of a zombie going through life. And then he has to protect this kid that he wants nothing to do with because she happens to be immune to the zombie virus and bring her to these people who can create a cure. And of course, he's as like all the horrible things he's had to do to survive since the zombie outbreak, 2 decades ago. He's done some really horrible things, but at his core, he is a father and a protector. And that, like, to see that evolution in that character, to see the character arc, and to see, the girl that he's protecting, which we have a puppy named, well, she's not a puppy anymore. She's going to be 4 in May, which is
Right.
crazy. So probably by the time you're listening to this, she turned 4, but uh her name is Ellie after Ellie from The Last of Us. So you can see how much the characters resonated with me. But again, there are some things where I'm like, I don't really care for the characters. Usually that is my hook. If I don't like the characters, I'm not continuing to watch or read. But every once in a while, plot will get me where I'm like, I gotta know what happens. But usually it's characters.
I kind of agree with that. I think there was a book, and I can't think of which book it was. No character was likable, and I think that was one of my mysteries I read. I've read that it was hard to really like anybody, so it was hard to get into the book, even though I enjoyed it after I got used to it because I like the detective a lot. But you have to tell a funny story when Ellie was a puppy, and I think you guys were either playing the game or watching the series.
Oh
And
yeah.
what does your doggy do?
Yeah, I was playing the second game and there's one part where Joel, the main like the older man, the father figure, he rides up because Ellie has gone off and he goes, Ellie! And Ellie, my puppy, she was really tiny and she had just kind of learned her name because it's so weird to have a puppy again, like a really tiny puppy, because they don't know their names yet. They didn't even know they had a name. And so we were teaching her name and she learned her name and she had a little stuffed taco in her mouth. And she heard Ellie and she dropped her taco and she stared at the TV like, what? Who's talking? What? It was the cutest thing.
It was
And she
cute.
never did it again. I would try to get her because I play that game so much. I would try to get her kind of near the TV when that scene would come on again. She never did it again, but it was so cute. She was like, I mean, the taco just fell out of her mouth and she just stared like, what? What did I do? It was really cute.
And she's a cutie pie. We had her spend the night the other night, and she's so sweet. So sweet in the morning. She's a sweet dog anyway. She's one of the more affectionate dogs we've had or I've known. And but she can be a little toot too.
Oh yeah,
A sassy toot.
she's very sassy. Yeah,
But
I
she
say,
loves my husband. Oh my
oh
gosh.
yeah,
Shit,
that's her
it's done.
person. She's
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa is her favorite person ever.
Yes.
They
And I'm
are,
okay with it.
yeah,
I'm fine.
they are they are twin flames. They've found each other across space and time. They just, yeah,
It's
she's just,
adorable.
I don't know if you can see her right there.
Aw,
She just passed
she's
out
so
on the floor.
sweet. Yeah, she came over, Shada took her home, and she showed us later videos of Ellie sleeping on the couch and she could barely open her eyes, keep them open. She was tired from Grandpa. But she just follows him with her eyes and she's got to be up
Yeah, he
or
was working on our
aware.
cars and
Yeah.
eventually he allowed her to go in the garage, but when the garage door was open, he was like, "She needs to stay out here." And she was crying and running around the house to see if she could look out the windows and see him. She was
Yeah.
very upset.
She could
And
care
that
less
was,
about us.
yeah, that was after spending the night, going on multiple walks, multiple hikes, and going actually to the inspection stations to get
Mhm.
both cars inspected. She'd been with him all day and she was still like, "Oh, why have you taken Grandpa away from me?"
Yeah. She's funny. Well, I think that's all we have for today. I really enjoyed this series and hope to read the second one and hope y'all, if you've read it, let us know what you thought about it. But we appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks for being here and talking books with us.
And if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot with us. And we'll see you in the next chapter. Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.